Picture this: France, early 1700s. The kingdom is on the brink of bankruptcy after decades of lavish spending and costly wars. The royal coffers are empty, and the French people are groaning under heavy taxes. It's a desperate situation. But then, a charismatic Scotsman arrives in Paris with a revolutionary idea, an idea so bold it promises to make France the richest nation on earth. His name is John Law, and his story is one of genius, ambition, and a catastrophic collapse that would haunt Europe for a century. John Law was no ordinary man. He was a brilliant mathematician, a notorious gambler, and a fugitive who had fled Scotland after killing a man in a duel. He was charming, persuasive, and had an incredible mind for finance. Law had spent years studying the banking systems of Europe, particularly the Bank of Amsterdam, which used paper notes backed by deposits of gold and silver. But Law had a much more radical idea. He believed that money didn't need to be tied to precious metals. Money, he argued, was simply a medium of exchange. Its true value came from the confidence people had in it and the economic activity it generated. He believed that a nation's wealth wasn't its hoard of gold, but its trade, its industry, and its people. When he presented his ideas to the Duke of Orleans, the regent of France, the Duke was intrigued. France was desperate, and Law's plan seemed like a lifeline. In 1716, Law was given permission to open a private bank, the Banque Générale. At first, it was a huge success. The bank issued paper money, banknotes, that were redeemable for gold and silver coins. This made commerce much easier. Instead of lugging around heavy, clunky coins, merchants could use lightweight, convenient paper notes. The public loved it. The economy began to revive, and Law became the talk of Paris. 2 years later, the French government, impressed by his success, nationalized his bank, renaming it the Banque Royale. Now, John Law wasn't just a banker. He was effectively in charge of France's entire financial system. And this is where his grand vision truly began to take shape. Law's master plan involved a trading company. In 1717, he established the Mississippi Company, officially known as the Company of the West. This company was granted a complete monopoly on trade with France's vast North American territory of Louisiana. In the public's imagination, Louisiana was a land of untold riches, overflowing with gold, silver, and precious gems. Law launched a massive marketing campaign, painting Louisiana as a paradise on earth, a new Eden just waiting to be exploited. To fund the company, Law offered shares to the public. And here's the genius, or perhaps the madness, of his scheme. You could buy shares in the Mississippi Company using the paper money issued by his own bank. He also allowed people to trade their government bonds, which were nearly worthless at the time, for company shares. This was a brilliant move. It soaked up the national debt and funneled capital directly into his company. The public went wild. Everyone wanted a piece of the Mississippi Company. The street where the company's shares were traded, Rue Quincampoix, became a chaotic, frenzied marketplace. People from all walks of life, dukes and maids, artisans, and clergymen, flocked to Paris to buy shares. Fortunes were made overnight. A servant might become a millionaire in a single day. The word millionaire itself was coined during this very period to describe the newly rich. The price of Mississippi Company shares skyrocketed, rising from 500 livres to over 10,000 livres in just over a year. John Law was a hero, hailed as the savior of France. He was made the Controller General of Finances, giving him unprecedented power over the entire French economy. Law used this power to merge the Mississippi Company with other French trading companies, creating one giant conglomerate that controlled all of France's overseas trade. He was effectively running a state-sponsored monopoly fueled by his own bank's printing press. To keep the share prices rising, Law's Banque Royale printed more and more paper money. As long as the public believed in the promise of Louisiana and the value of the shares, the system worked. Confidence was everything. But there was a problem. A huge one. The fabulous wealth of Louisiana was a fantasy. The territory was mostly undeveloped swamp and wilderness, with very few French colonists and certainly no mountains of gold. The company was generating almost no real profit. The entire system was a bubble, inflated by pure speculation and an endless supply of paper money. Slowly, some of the shrewder investors began to get nervous. They started quietly selling their shares and converting their paper profits back into solid gold and silver. At first, it was a trickle, but soon, that trickle became a flood. As more people tried to cash out, the demand for gold and silver overwhelmed the bank's reserves. Law tried to stop the panic. He made it illegal to hold large amounts of gold and even banned the use of gold coins for transactions. He essentially tried to outlaw real money to save his paper money. But you can't fight reality forever. The public's confidence, once the bedrock of his entire system, shattered. Everyone rushed to the bank to exchange their worthless paper for whatever coin they could get. The share price of the Mississippi Company collapsed even faster than it had risen. The bubble had burst. The crash was catastrophic. Fortunes vanished as quickly as they were made. The millionaires of yesterday were the beggars of today. The French economy was in ruins, far worse than before law had arrived. The public was furious, and riots broke out in Paris. John Law, once the most powerful man in France, became the most hated. He was forced to flee the country in disgrace, his grand experiment in ruins. He spent the rest of his life in Venice, returning to his old life as a gambler, and died in poverty. The legacy of the Mississippi scheme was devastating. It left France with a deep-seated distrust of paper money, national banks, and joint stock companies for generations. The word bank became a dirty word. This financial conservatism arguably held back France's economic development for decades compared to its rival, Great Britain. So, was John Law a conman or a visionary? It's a question historians still debate. He wasn't a simple swindler. He genuinely believed in his theories. He correctly understood that money is a social construct and that expanding the money supply could stimulate an economy. In many ways, his ideas were a century ahead of their time, prefiguring modern monetary policy and quantitative easing. But his ambition outran his prudence. He tied his sound banking principles to a wildly speculative venture built on lies. He created too much money, too fast, without any real value to back it up. The story of John Law and the Mississippi Bubble is a timeless cautionary tale. It's a powerful reminder of the dangers of speculative mania, the fragility of confidence, and what happens when greed and fantasy completely overwhelm reason. It shows that no matter how brilliant the theory, you can't print your way to real prosperity. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most incredible events. See you in the next one.